Yeah, sometimes I think I'm the mighty two, the hacker of quantum physics, perhaps. Don't know. Just make it up as I go along, so to speak. But, there are circumstances, I guess, that lead me to believe that I may have been engineered, or at least a prototype of some kind of Machiavellian enterprise. And there's not a great deal I can do about that, except my lot in life. Perhaps they thought that I would have amounted to something that was a lot more impressive than, my current status in life, which is that of a man with a chronic and severe mental illness by the way of schizophrenia, and that, this juvenile fixation with the word two, thus being 58, and, father, asleep, science, and I think there's a few others that elude me at the moment, but they're the words that I have deciphered as being and Ryan, my last name. I don't know if I should have mentioned that on this particular post, but it's on my YouTube channel. And it's quite simple, really. There's a mainstream internet, and then, there'd be two fields, basically, where one could engineer and infiltrate the substance of the majority, so to speak, and play some pretty devious and corrupt games, I guess, all in the name of science. Basically, it's just an intuition that I had very early on in my association with the internet, and it's something that I haven't really been able to let go of. And it's incapacitated me, so to speak, in the sense that, just like a little kid that doesn't want to be the last one picked in the teams vying against one another. That wasn't a very affluent status to have. So I think in this scenario that'd be the case. There's other individuals that have got way too many personal investments, both financially, mentally, and emotionally, in other activities and pursuits, rather than, basically surrendering to someone who has fucking chronic control issues. I thought that I could engineer a paradise on earth with my benevolence. And the other day, for the first time in my life, I was able to look back at how that was constituted within me from a foreign party, and that I put that particular individual up on a pedestal and could find no fault within them. And I understand that today codependents can be very manipulative, and that just because they have an affiliation with a sense of perfection that is exquisite in nature doesn't mean that's serviceable for all parties. And yet I succumb to it because of how my first psychotic experience manifested, where at its apotheosis or its climax, I experienced benevolence, which with such an emphatic and overwhelming sense that, I thought it was going to cure man of its ills, when in reality it was just something that I introjected from this particular codependent who could intonate empathy and compassion in her voice, and me being the needy, desperate little child looking for the perfect parent, I basically abandoned my mother in favour of her because my mother couldn't intonate that in the same kind of affect as to which this particular individual could. So and it's just a farce. It's just a fucking farce. I ended up acting out in a farcical nature because I thought that the sense of triumphancy that I experienced when I experienced the self for the very first time, with this benevolence at its culmination, then it was, I've lost my train of thought. Then it was the antidote for all infriction in life. It was the ultimate. And it's not even fucking love. It's just pure self-indulgence at its highest form, where libido produces a mental orgasm which is basically how the self is induced. That's what I suspect anyway. And for me, it was phenomenal the very first time that I experienced it. And it led to being assaulted. And without going into too much content, I never ever really learned from that. I never learned to process what Freud calls the fusion of ego and libido. So what I thought was love was actually just beneficence, and it was charitableness or charity and goodwill. They're virtues that are highly regarded in a lot of circles, but they can be exploited. And, the self-exploited common sense and logical and practical thinking within me. And it was all induced by an introjection of that fucking benevolence. So it's not like it's a bad thing, but keeping things in perspective and being proportionate with that instead of compartmentalizing it as being the only true source of purity and perfection. The individual who assaulted me did so in a cruel and sadistic manner, but he experienced his own version of what his nature defined as being pure and perfect. It happened all 45 years ago, so I'm just starting to make sense of it now. So if I truly was a genius, I think I would have figured this out a long time ago. So just wanted to make a post today. I'll try uploading this and see how I go. Ciao for now.